You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take the town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live until I die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Pink Lady Presents It Ain't Over Till You Say It's Over, a program filled with lives well lived. And I met a life well lived about 2-3 years ago when this lovely lady, Carmen Haywood, auditioned for me for one of my shows, America Salutes Our Veterans. And hello, Carmen.
Hello.
And welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I think we're going to start off with Carmen entertaining us, as I know that she always does so very well.
There is a place we'll go where there is mostly quiet. Flowers and butterflies, a rainbow lives beside it, and from a golden sky, a summer storm, I can feel the coolness in the air while I'm still warm. And then a mighty roar will start the sky to crying. But not even lightning will be frightening my lion. And with no fear inside, no need to run, no need to hide, you're standing strong and tall. You're the bravest of them all. When on courage you must call, just keep trying and trying and trying. 'Cause you're a lion in your own way. Be a lion, a lion, a lion. Be a lion.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Here, sit down, my darling, and let's talk. So, Carmen Haywood, where did you begin all this fabulous, first of all, I love this music. Thank you. Where did you begin all this?
Well, thank you for asking. I have enjoyed singing since I was 5 years old.
5 years old, wow.
Mm-hmm. But I have to give credit to my education because I was a musical theater major.
Oh,
and so I absolutely adore musical theater, hence the choice of Be a Lion.
Right, I love that.
And I have been blessed with the opportunity to travel a little bit as a singer-dancer.
Well, you were with, I believe, Burt Bacharach and Anthony Newley. I'd say that was pretty good traveling.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. Well, you mentioned Anthony Newley. I didn't know you were going to mention that. The last guest that we had on this program, a previous program, was Amy Ginsberg-Bickel. And her husband, Theo, was in a movie we talked about called Sweet November with Anthony Newley. What are the odds of that happening?
I know.
It's a small world.
It is. How long did you tour with them?
Oh, it was just over the better part of 1 year or so.
Okay.
And we went to Vegas and Tahoe and Reno and Long Island, New York, and the Desert Inn.
And what type of music did you do? I mean...
Well, we did his repertoire, and
Okay.
as you know, with Newley, he's very theatrical.
Yes.
What he's known for is songs like "What kind of a fool am I?"
I know, I love it.
I loved him,
Send
and
in
he
the
was
clowns.
so
And Send in the
theatrical.
Clowns.
Yeah.
But he wrote for so many wonderful musicals on Broadway. He wrote for Sammy Davis Jr. and Dionne Warwick, and just on and on and on and on. And of course, Burt Bacharach.
I know.
There's
I
no
love
point in
him.
even starting
No.
to try to enumerate. But they worked together
Yes, they
actually
did.
a good number of times, and I had the time of my life.
I love it. And now you also produced. You have an ensemble studio theater now. Tell us about that.
Wow. Well, I was on the board of directors for the Ensemble Studio Theater in Hollywood.
Okay.
And I had my first foray as a theater director, producer at that time. And what I remember most was a performance of a play called West Memphis Mojo, which I had such a good time. We were able to get as a director Michael Peters, who had worked with Michael Jackson, of course,
Oh, wow.
Beat It, and all of those videos.
Right.
And oh my goodness, it was also starred in by Larry Riley, who was my producing partner. And he had done nighttime soaps. He was a blues singer. And he's no longer with us. But
sorry.
it was a wonderful show because it was about a blues singer whose music gets co-opted.
Oh, I love that.
So it was kind of sad, but we had
You
a
also
ball.
do a talk show called, I think it was Getting It Right. What was that like?
Okay.
'Cause we all want to get it right.
Absolutely. That's hence the title.
Yeah.
That was my thinking. This was a talk show, and it was it aired on cable back in the day, and it was one of the magazine formats shows where we had a beautiful host who was actually a journalist, and we had all of the potential impacts on the African American family. So we had 10 shows that we did for about the cost of one half an hour on primetime
Oh, my
television.
goodness, yeah.
But it was high quality, absolutely beautiful, and everything from homelessness to how to have a baby, a healthy baby. I mean, it's just absolutely everything. And I was very proud of it because I worked for an organization called Great Beginnings for Black Babies.
Yes, I heard that, yes.
And they gave me free reign, and
Wow.
we got money from the California Department of Health Services to make it happen.
I
And
think
then we put copies in all the libraries.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're going to do, I'm sitting here listening, so the audience sometimes knows that I know the guests, and sometimes the audience knows that I don't know a lot about the guests. But listening to you speak, we're going to be doing something next year with the 55 African nations
Yes.
at the Los Angeles National Cemetery. All consul
Fabulous.
generals from 55 nations will gather to do music,
Food,
a taste of
Ta-
Africa,
Taste of Africa, which I
folk
love.
clothing, folk
Right.
wear. It's going to be amazing.
Dancing, everything.
And you sound like someone who could jump right in
And help us with that.
help us with it.
Oh, you're darn tootin'.
I love it. You see what we do,
I love
everybody?
being down tootin',
Yeah,
I
no.
gotta say.
No, we get our volunteers sitting right here.
That's right.
And we welcome all of you also to all the different events that we have. Talking about things that we jump right into, you had a recent movie called Moved. Is that it? And with Perfume and Father of the Bride. I mean, wow.
Well, I've spread them out over the years, but I absolutely enjoy acting. It's really my first love.
Okay.
And what I liked so much about Moved is it was a student production, but really well crafted. And I got to play someone against type, a really little old lady with all gray white hair.
Which she is not, as you can see.
You know, but the idea was that there was a young man who was trying to figure out what was going on with his neighborhood, and people were moving out, and it was changing. The demographics were changing, and this young Latino American and I had a relationship. I was the old lady on the corner, and boy, you better, wear a helmet when you ride in these skates.
I love that.
That kind of thing. And so I really enjoy, and that was a USC production, I'm pretty sure. So I've done a lot of USC and UCLA. We have talked a little bit about, my schools, USC and UCLA, my first love. But yeah, I do a lot of student movies. Father of the Bride you mentioned, I had a very, very tiny part, but I did get in a scene with Steve Martin. I had such a ball. I'll tell you a quick story. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this, I'm working in his shoe factory, right? And he makes shoes, and he's, kind of a wealthy guy, and his daughter's going to get married. So that's what it's all about, I am pushing this group of trays with shoes on it past, and he's supposed to bump into me accidentally because he's a little absent-minded. So we do one take, we do two takes. Third take, the director says, psst, 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 something to Steve Martin because it's not going, I guess, the way he wants. This time, as Steve Martin is walking backwards, he's holding something in his hand that's like a board, a clipboard.
Right.
And he really bumps me, bam! And I'm like, oh, hi, Mr. Banks, because I was supposed to be startled. That man put a scar on my back. So if you ever see Steve Martin, you tell him I said he owes me.
He owes you big time.
From Father of the Bride.
And now, would you grace us with another song?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
The room grew still as she made her way to Jesus. She stumbled through the tears that made her blind. She felt such pain. Some spoke in anger, heard them whisper, there's no place here for her kind. Still on she came, through the shame that flushed her face, till at last she knelt before his feet. And though she spoke no words, everything she said was heard as she poured her love for the Master from her box of alabaster. I've come to pour my praise on him like oil from Mary's alabaster box. Now don't be angry if I wash his feet with my tears and I dry them with my hair, my hair. You weren't there the night he found me. You did not hear what I heard when he wrapped his loving arms around me. And you don't know the cost of the oil. Oh, you don't know the cost of my praise. You don't know the cost of the oil in my alabaster box.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Carmen, you were mentioning that you wanted to talk to the audience about something today. What was that about? In just a few words,
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I wanted to share that I'm working with an organization called the Los Angeles Inner City Cultural Center. I'm a member of the board of directors, which is astounding to me because this is an organization I started working with when I was in my early 20s, coming out of UCLA. It is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-arts institution, and we're just having our 52nd year in existence. Things have changed quite a bit over the years, but what impresses us all most, those of us who call ourselves alumni, was the life and work of C. Bernard Jackson. They called him Jack Jackson. He was our executive director, he was artistic director, and he passed a good number of years ago. However, every November 4th we have a birthday party. And the last 3 years, we have had 50-year anniversary celebrations of specific milestones that we had from that organization back in the day. And the reason we get so excited is because the people who come through are so fascinating. Gregory Peck was one of the people who got this organization started. Wow. And I want to invite folks to come out. If you don't know Jack about Jack, you need to be there.
Good.
Okay?
And what date is that?
It's going to be Sunday, November 4th.
Sunday, November 4th.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
At the Nate Holden Performing Arts
At the Nate
Center.
Holden Performing Arts Center, which we know and all love.
Which is on Washington Boulevard, just east of La Brea.
That's
At
exactly
what
And our
time?
very good friend Gail Hooks is the artistic
Yeah.
director.
I love her. Absolutely.
And what time is that?
4 o'clock in the afternoon. And tickets are only $10
And-
in advance.
And they can get it by calling the Nate Holden Theater. And also by...
And also by going to our website at innercityculturalcenter@gmail.com.
That's innercityculturalcenter.com
in innercityculturalcenter@gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
And the phone number, for
Here we
those of
go.
you truly interested in getting the discount $10 price,
Okay.
213-234-1717.
Want to repeat that once more.
Again, 213-234-1717, Inner City Cultural
and for those
Center.
people who have never been to the Nate Holden Theater, we want to tell you it's one of the finest theaters in Los
Correct.
Angeles. And we had the privilege of seeing a tribute to Luther Vandross
Oh, I saw it too.
recently.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
And the Gospel According to Colonus.
Oh, I saw that too.
Wonderful show. So
As-
people will
right.
be in for a treat in
Right.
addition to the show itself, to the birthday party. But just being in that theater,
Correct.
it's a real page out of the Ebony Theater.
I wonder if you saw Fraternity.
I did.
Yes.
That's my husband's play. That's Jeff Stetson.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Carmen, Haywood, I don't know where my time goes, but it goes so fast. We'll have to have you back again. First of all, for your lovely voice, your lovely presence, what you're doing for our community of arts out there. I thank you so very,
And
very
we're
much.
going to reach out to you. This is not an idle invitation.
No,
Okay.
no.
Because this will be a huge event next September. And we'll have 55 nations represented. It's going to be
Wow.
very, very big for the community.
I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God
Thank you.
bless everyone. See you in a few.
Bye-bye.
I believe it is not the breaths we take in life that count. It's what we do with the breaths we take. And I should know. 84 years young. Today on this stage, you will see talented performers all over the age of 60.
Life is a cabaret, old chum. It's only a cabaret, old chum.
Money! You got lots of friends hanging around that door.
I'm gonna live and live now, 'cause everything's coming up rosy.
Then your fingers touched my silent heart and taught it how to sing.
Dear, with your lips to mine, of rhapsody divine, zing went the strings of my heart.
To reach the unreachable stars.
But I've got to do it all in 3 minutes or less. How about maybe ragtime? How about boogie woogie?
Woo! Darling, let's dance. Let the music take us. The blues ain't gonna break us. We won't give it no chance.
Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
You've treated me so kind, I'm about to lose my mind. You made me so very happy.
So hush, little baby, don't you cry.
To reach the unreachable
Hey world, I am what
Okay, we're back.
We are back with a flash. Well, actually, we're back with a gentleman who truly epitomizes community outreach to our phenomenal veteran community.
And
and
active duty.
And active
and
duty.
The families
and
of
the families of the deployed.
Right.
I am getting really good at that.
We're covering the gamut.
We're covering everything. Curtis Mack. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, Pink. How are you?
I am fabulous. I prompted him to say that. You know that. Because someone always asks when they're sitting in where Curtis is, what do we call you? I said, Pink. Hello. Over 65 years. One color. There it is.
Absolutely.
Never.
Curtis is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we can call Curtis Colonel, Air Force Colonel Curtis Mack. We can say sir.
I was just going to say he is a retired Air Force Colonel, 31 years active and reserve duty.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How young were you when you went in?
2.
2 young.
Yes.
That is a good answer. You're good. Listen, I may leave the show. He can take over here. No, tell me something about your service. Where were you serving as a U.S. Air Force Colonel?
Well, I spent in my 3 years of active duty.
Okay.
Texas. Everybody in Air Force is in
yeah.
Texas. Then Texas again.
Wow.
Then about 14 months at Osan, Korea. Not during the Korean War. Please understand.
You're too young.
No, it was this was 1970-71.
Okay.
And then back to the Washington area before I was released from active duty. And then
what did you
all
do?
the reserve duty.
Yes.
Over the years, gosh, I had things at Belleville, Illinois, again, numerous things in the Washington area, and the Pacific area, stationed out of Hawaii for various things there. But, for me, it was always kind of a labor of love for many ways.
And what ways were that?
My dad was 15 and a half when he drank water and ate bananas to get his weight up.
Oh,
and lied about his age to get in World War I.
Oh, my goodness. 15?
15 and a half.
Wow.
After 2 years in the Navy, he got out. He had a 6th grade education. And the Navy thought enough of his duty where they said, we'd like to send you to the Annapolis Prep School.
Oh, my
Not to
goodness.
Annapolis itself, but the prep school.
Prep school.
And they were in, I understand, Guantanamo, Cuba. He had been on the Pennsylvania. And his father sent him a note from New York and said, if you come back to New York, I'll buy you a car.
Oh.
Guess what he took?
What did he say?
The car.
I love
But then
it.
with World War II started, and at age 39, he went back down to the recruiting office and said, "Here I am."
No way.
And they said, "You're too old." And he said, "No, I'm not." "Okay, we'll bring you back on duty, but you'll give us shore duty." "No, I won't." So he's wound up spending 3 years on the Denver in the Pacific.
Oh my goodness.
11 campaign stars. And they included their being torpedoed on Friday, November 13th, 1943.
Wow.
Were able to make it back. They had been reported as having been sunk.
Oh my
But
goodness.
made it back, and then eventually made it back to Mare Island up in the Bay Area. And while the ship was in repair there, he came down here, married my mother. Something else happened, and I was born 9 months later.
Yeah, something a lot
But
happened.
with having that type of background, with having my father do those things, he never told me I needed to go in the service. But he did say, if you go in as an officer. And there was no way that I was going to live in that household and not go in. So
Wow, that's a fabulous
what took
story,
me in.
Curtis. And where were you trained? You said you went into the service. Where were you trained?
I was in Air Force ROTC.
Oh, okay. So
I was
were you.
I was down
Yeah.
here about 13 miles at USC.
Great, great.
And
then when you came out, I understand that you went as assistant, am I right, director to the LA Regional Office?
assistant to the director of the LA Regional Office
And how
of the
did
VA.
you get into that position?
Well, I had been involved in political activities, as I have been for most of my life.
Right.
And after the election in 1972, some friends said, come back east and become involved here. I said, no, I've been away from home with the having been on active duty. I want to stay home for a while.
And
so
home
they said,
was
here in
California
Los
then,
Angeles.
okay.
I was born just off of what was to become the Hollywood Freeway. Didn't exist yet. So anyway, they said, well, there's something at the VA that might be of interest. And I had no idea what the VA, I mean, I knew what the VA was, but
Right.
I was thinking of the VA as a tiny little office downtown on Hill Street or something, and didn't realize that the VA, the regional office, not the medical side.
Right.
The VA regional office at that time was at the Federal Building in West Los Angeles, and was 7 floors of the
Oh,
building.
wow.
So I went there. We had a talk. Things worked out. I stayed there 6 years. Part of it as assistant to the director, the other part as the assistant veteran services officer.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were the
Okay.
ones in that division who had the first contact with veterans as they would come back and as they would look for benefits or
They would come to you.
interviews. They would come to us.
I get it. Your dad was alive at that time?
Dad was alive until 1991.
He must have been so proud of you that you went into, again, helping veterans.
I was very proud of him and very proud of my mother, and so if they were proud of me, it was a good circle.
I love it. Now, when were you working for the Reagan administration?
I went back in the summer of 1985 and was there into 1988.
What was that like, Curtis?
It was a wonderful experience.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, I had operational control.
And how young were you at that time?
Not very. I was 40.
Okay, that's
and,
young.
I became the deputy administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which includes all of the Weather Service, all of the civil satellite activity, the National Marine Fisheries Service, a lot of the research that's going on, various things there. And it was a great experience. It was great meeting people. I think about it as opposed to the experiences of people now that are going back there. My confirmation hearing was very short. They had a vote to go on, so that was fine with me. They just sent me written questions to answer. And then while I was meeting various senators before their vote on me with questions and such outside of the, out of the hearing, to tell you an example of how things have changed, I was called by Senator Dan Inouye
from
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Right.
Love him.
And, he was injured
Yes.
in Europe during World War II. And here we were of different parties and things of that sort. And my legislative guy said, we don't know what he wants, but let's go. So he had called us to come up and meet him in the cloakroom of the Senate. And when I got there, they notified him. He came off the floor and said, I don't have any questions for you, but I just wanted to meet you and wish you the best of luck.
Wow.
I'm trying to picture that in today's atmosphere.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen today.
It wouldn't happen.
You can forget
it. Obviously, it's one of the things that I remember.
Over 23 years as president of the LA World Affairs Council, Dove, we were talking about that, and you have a story about that.
It was some very fond memories. I was a member of the World Affairs Council
I'm
way
glad.
back when. And very frequently, we would pick someone up at the airport, take them to their hotel, bring them to a meeting, and that's all we were supposed to do. But I never limited myself to that. I had at the time a 29-foot Erickson sailboat, and I had people from Saudi Arabia and from many of the Arab countries. And I would pick them up at the airport, take them to the hotel and say, okay, you don't have any appointments till tomorrow afternoon. Why don't we go sailing in the morning? And many of them didn't sail, but they were pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar. If you know air currents, you know how to sail. So we would go, they would take them to their meeting in the afternoon, bring them back to the hotel, they would change. And every single one of them, when I said, let's go out to dinner, I'm taking you out, they would say, well, where are we going to go? I said, do you like beef? And we went to a place that's not there anymore in Santa Monica called Cheerios for the best prime rib. It was a 2-pound slab of prime rib. It's now Shutter's Hotel.
Yep.
And I kept in touch with many of these dignitaries for 25 years. Christmas cards and how are the kids and all of that. Wonderful experience with the LA World Affairs Council.
And
Had some fun.
Still very active.
When he tells me that, I said, wow, that sounds like an exciting time.
We had great time.
But now we come to the part that I love and so enjoy, is that you are
Can I
yes, oh please.
just throw one little thing in there?
Sure.
It's a question.
You're the guest.
Throw in a few.
No. Again, when you think about people, who they are, and not what they are, but who they are.
Right.
I mentioned that my dad passed away in 1991.
Yes.
The weekend that we had his memorial service was the same weekend that I was doing a program with a lady by the name of Margaret Thatcher. You may have heard of her.
Yes, we have.
Oh my goodness.
And we got to the hotel. We had just finished a press conference. We're going to a reception when she stopped and she said, are you the one whose father just passed away?
Oh.
And I said, yes. And she says, well, let me thank you for being here with me tonight. We went out, did the reception, the dinner, the question and answer period, where she was as vague as she always was on answers to questions.
Right.
I mean, obviously a little there, yeah. And on the way out, we got to her car, and the last thing she did before getting in the car was she turned around to me, took my hand, and said, again, let me thank you for being here with me tonight.
Oh, my,
so
what
when
a story.
you learn something about people, here was the Iron Lady being as velvet as you
yes.
possibly could.
And human.
So,
wow.
So, sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
This is a chance for our audience to know people with lives well lived. And that's what you're doing. And when you tell a story like that, it not only opens you up, but opens us up to Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
I mean, because like you say...
It told about her, not about me.
Right. And I mean, that's a fabulous... I adore her because I think she was brilliant in what she did. May not the politics that I admire and stuff, but let me tell you, she was one heck of a lady. So the other thing now is that we're back to what you're doing right now and so well, Executive Director of the Veterans Park Conservancy. Now, please, my audience is like me sometimes. We don't know what that is. So will you help us?
Why don't you know?
I know that because I didn't have you here last week, but I got you here this week. So go ahead.
VPC was started actually back in about the mid 1980s, when there was an effort to sell what was considered to be extra land in the VA campus there to the public for commercial development.
Okay.
And a number of people, mostly homeowners in the Brentwood area, got together and said, no, this is not something that we think should be done. And they were able to block that. Then again in the 1990s, there was an effort by what I call the two Michaels.
Okay.
Both Michaels happened to be the CEO and the COO of Disney. And they wanted to do an NFL stadium in Brentwood there on the grounds. You see what the congestion is in Brentwood or on the west side today.
Correct.
Can you imagine what an NFL stadium would have done
horrific,
there? So
horrific.
Again, the group came together and were able to block that. But then there were a number of people that said, no, we've got to do more. We've got to do something that's positive as opposed to something that's just blocking something.
Right.
So a number of them got together and started working on the Los Angeles National Cemetery and said this is something that it's not really the Arlington of the West and needs to have a little work done on it.
Pizzazz, yeah.
So they went out and they raised, just for the fencing alone, there was about $1.5 million raised from the community to put up new wrought iron fencing around the cemetery. There was another, I think the number was $250,000 that was used to refurbish the Spanish-American War Memorial that's there at Veteran Avenue and Wilshire Boulevard. There was a new entryway created for the National Cemetery. It had been old brick homes and such, brick buildings, and so a new entryway was created.
Well, before you continue, I just want to stop for a second. The first clip I'd like our audience to see is what about the Bob Hope USO Chapel?
The Bob Hope Chapel. VPC, I mean, the chapel had been there for quite a while,
Correct,
obviously.
right.
But again, many people felt that this was not a chapel, not a place that really was up to standard.
Okay.
So VPC worked with various people, including the Hope family and the VA, to start to do an upgrade. And VPC was directly involved because, as you and the audience may know, you cannot name a federal building after a living person.
Oh, okay.
Bob Hope was still alive. So VPC and its friends went back and worked the halls of Congress so that there was a piece of legislation that was actually signed on his 99th birthday.
Oh, my goodness.
Changing the name to the Bob Hope Veterans Chapel.
Fabulous.
Now, since then, the VA and the Hope family have talked about it for a number of years, but finally this last several months, and Dov will know more about that than I do in many cases, they came together to help refurbish the chapel and do various things there.
And then another area that our audience is going to see is that stage area.
Oh, the amphitheater.
Yes, the amphitheater.
Amphitheater. There was an area outside the historic Women's Rose Garden.
Oh.
That an area that's used for veterans that have PTS, where they're looking for holistic approaches,
right.
Whether it be Tai Chi or some just meditation or whatever. But outside the Rose Garden was to be a small amphitheater. Now, those of us who live in Los Angeles think of the amphitheater, Hollywood Bowl,
right,
Universal,
yes,
Greek Theater,
right.
Huge.
Yeah.
This was 1,200 square feet footprint,
Oh.
no permanent seating of any sort. And the idea was to have veterans come out of the building where their treatment was being given to the Rose Garden and then be able to use the amphitheater.
Okay.
Well, as everyone knows, or not everyone, but a good amount of people know, there were various lawsuits over the VA land over the last few years. And as a result of that, the VA said, no, we're going to use this land strictly as a quiet memorial zone. And the amphitheater, which was about 80% complete, was on that part of the land. So it was taken down.
Oh, my Lord.
And now we have the money in hand so that when the environmental impact study, which will probably take another, I guess, year to 2 years to finish on the north campus of the VA.
Right.
If you think about a baseball field where the outfield is housing for veterans that are homeless, come back into home plate. Home plate, the idea is to make that a town center where
like
things
that
can
idea.
happen to bring this whole area to life. That is where we are talking with the VA about reestablishing the amphitheater so it can be used. We won't program it; they will. We put it up. We gift it to the VA.
I love
it. We don't pay for anything that the VA has money for. They have to spend their money before we will go out to the community and raise and do any of our projects. But we're looking at that as a strong possibility that that's where the amphitheater will be.
And then you also have, I'm sorry.
I was going to go back for just a moment to the Bob Hope Chapel. You made a comment about what is being done. Just to give the audience an update, we have new pews that are coming in. We have new cushions that are coming in.
Oh, great.
New chandeliers, much of which has been provided for by American Legion Pacific Palisades Post 283. They are next week, I believe, going to be resurfacing the ceiling inside the cemetery, the chapel, and we are hoping that by the first of the year it will be ready to receive the public.
Great.
Also, the columbarium, which is being built on the west side of Sepulveda, will open sometime in the spring with 90,000 niches. The first phase is 10,000, and we will have a grand opening April, May, June, somewhere in there.
My next home.
Pardon me?
My next home.
Yes, we're ready.
I hope not for a long time.
I'm bringing my parents over from Forest Lawn, Glendale to put their
Great.
And I'll have a spot close by.
Now we also have the Veterans Monument.
That was the Spanish-American War Memorial that I was mentioning before that we refurbished. Out at Veteran and Wilshire.
And then Heroes Plaza, I saw what it's going to look like.
Right, the artist rendering.
It was beautiful.
That's our project that we have going on right now.
Tell me about that.
It is, we were in a fundraising mode.
Okay.
VeteransParkConservancy.org, and there will be a spot there where a gift may be made.
Good.
And we challenge you, we invite you, please go to that site. Because
and what's the site again?
VeteransParkConservancy.org.
This is your national cemetery. If you live anywhere in Southern California, we take care of people not only in LA County, but Ventura County and Orange County and San Diego County, we and Riverside National Cemetery. So please support the VeteranParkConservancy.org.
The Network for Good is what we use on there. This is, it goes back to the thoughts again about the LA National Cemetery and whether or not various functions that the cemetery director would like to have on the property. They do Memorial Day. Dove is very, very much a part of Veterans Day. But there are other things that they would like to do. So we want to refurbish the plaza that's there, make it ADA compliant, put in additional fountains and such. And there are, of the 88,000 veterans who are buried there are 14 Medal of Honor recipients.
Oh, wow.
We want to do stations that will highlight each of those 14 and tell their stories to people. So people that drive by on Sepulveda or the San Diego Free, who have no idea what's there,
that's right,
will understand what that place of honor is.
Correct.
And learn more about it.
Well, I'm all kidding aside now. Before I met Chaplain Dove, I honestly, Curtis, and I'm ashamed to say it, I've lived in L.A. for over 60-something years. I never heard, never even knew that we had a national cemetery. And many people, like myself, are also on the same boat until this past few years. We're now, as Chaplain Dove knows, I'm really an advocate. Wherever we go, I said, did you know that we have a L.A. National Cemetery here? And my partner is a president of, I mean, to me, we should all know about it and have a place there for us to go as a destination place.
Well, the partnership that we have with the director of the National Cemetery, with the LA National Cemetery Foundation, with Post 283, it's bringing all these resources together to work that will make it the special place that it is. It should be.
And when you first started your position as executive director, did you ever think that you would come to this type of work and future projects with this? I mean,
I've been retired for 4 years. I wasn't planning on anything, and with some friends that told me about this. Did I think I knew what was going to happen then? No. I knew that there were some issues that needed to be cleaned up. They were. But then we had to see how we would reinvent ourselves. And that's been part of the fun. And
the funds that fund what you do
are all private.
All private, okay.
Except when the federal government tears something down and they reimburse me. That was part of the agreement, was that, yes, if you're going to tell us to do this, you're going to pay for the construction and the planning that was done to put this up in the first place.
Oh, wow.
And also for the demolition costs. And all that was done, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer. So that money is being held aside for the refurbishment.
And one of the things that I'm privileged to do now that I'm the new president of the National Cemetery Foundation, is to acknowledge the work and the life's work of people who support our veterans, our VA healthcare system property, the National Cemetery. And that's one of the things that you epitomize. Everyone who knows you, everyone who knows about Veteran Park Conservancy, has only good things to say. I don't know how you've convinced them of that.
You haven't talked to everybody.
I've talked to many people, except the gentleman who stands out on the corner on weekends. But on behalf of the Los Angeles National Cemetery Foundation, we started something that's never been done in 100 years. We developed our own challenge coin, and I'd like to present you with one of the first ones minted. This is a challenge coin of the Los Angeles National Cemetery, and it's presented to Curtis Mack for the amazing work that you and the Veteran Park Conservancy do to support all of us who are veterans. You and I were in the service about the same time, and thank you so much for everything that you do.
Well, thank you so much for this. For those of you who don't know what challenge coins are, go look it up, Google it. But it's interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Much.
It's our pleasure.
And as what year are you in now in doing this?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, how old are you?
No.
When you said,
she would say, how young are you?
Yeah,
she never asked, how old are you?
I've been at the, I've been there about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
What would you like to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Certainly to finish what we're doing. Certainly to, but more so, particularly as we have homeless come in there. What are the things that we can do to show them honor and respect? Right. What are the things that we can do? Because most of what we do, in fact, all of what we've done so far has been brick and mortar.
Yes.
And but brick and mortar things allow other types of services to be done as well. So what kinds of services do the VA feel that's necessary that things that we do can help them with? We don't go in just to say, oh, we like this idea, we're going to do this.
Right.
Everything is done with the VA in mind, with the veterans in mind, with active duty servicemen, with reservists right across the street off of Wilshire Boulevard at Federal, Reserve, Army, and the California National Guard. So we have to be a part of everybody's thinking, and we want to know what they think that they're going to need, that they're not going to have in their budget to do, that maybe we can help them with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clip that we're going to show now of the flags in the whole area. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know why. I think we're all the same, Curtis. And we see flags in an abundance waving. It just brings up a whole feeling of patriotism.
Well, this flag, yes.
Yes. Definitely this flag. And of what our veterans have done, are doing, and will be doing to keep us in peace here. And I think what you're doing with all of this, with the cemetery, are like putting two things together and working together. You will, I know, ladies and gentlemen, you will both make our National Cemetery a destination for all the world to come and see. And I am so proud that you're with us today.
Well, thank you very much.
And we definitely have to have you back again, because as things go on, more projects go on. You've got how many things lined up?
We have 13 for 2019.
13, so we want everybody. We invite everybody. Curtis invites them, Chaplain Dove, I invite you all to come to our Los Angeles National Cemetery.
One of the great advancements that we are making is our affiliation with the Los Angeles Unified School District, with the Archdiocese Catholic Church parochial schools, with the Jewish day schools. If there are children involved, we want to educate them. We want them to come. I'll give you an example of something we did last year. We had 10 times more kids on Lincoln's birthday than ever before. This year, we're on track to double last year.
Right.
We have actually hired a Lincoln impersonator who will, because it'll catch the kids' imagination.
With the hat and everything.
On Veterans Day, we'll be giving everyone who comes to the National Cemetery for the ceremony a scroll with Flanders Field and a poppy, so they can take something back with them. We're also starting the Passport program, so that all of our 13 programs will give an educational page to be put into this book that will describe Anzac Day, Australia, New Zealand,
A lot of people didn't
Law
even know about
Enforcement
that.
Day.
Right.
Last year we had 750 law enforcement motorcyclists. This year we're on track to have 1,500. On Memorial Day, 2 years ago, we had 9 consul generals. This last year, we had 53, and we're on track to have 85 consul generals presenting a wreath, a live wreath in memory of all those that are interred in our cemetery.
Considering, depending upon the day, there are normally between about 98 and 103 consulates in Los Angeles.
Yes.
You're doing rather well.
Yes, and they're very responsive, but one of the ways that we're getting them involved is we're asking them, as we did with the African nations, saying, you have 55 nations that are involved. We want to do a program geared to your culture and your food and your folk clothing, and we're doing that with each of them. On Veterans Day, we will have the French and Belgian consul generals with us. We'll have children singing French songs, which is what our soldiers heard when they were in France and Belgium. Last year in September, we presented the Legion of Honor, the Croix de Guerre, to World War II American veterans who served in France during World War II. We also reached out with the Korean government, and we presented the Korean Ambassador of Peace Award to American soldiers who served in Korea during the Korean War.
So what we're telling everyone out there is that our Los Angeles National Cemetery, the Parks Conservancy that you do, Curtis, to make it happen, to make it look good, as you see when you saw the flags all over and the monument to our veterans. We welcome you there. It's not just an end place, but actually, in my heart, it's a beginning place, a beginning to remember everyone there that counts in our lives.
Going back to the Civil War.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just tell them one more thing.
Okay.
2 days before Memorial Day, if you have not been to your national cemetery and you live in Southern California, I can tell you last year, during 2018, we had more than 10,000 Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts putting out 88,800 flags. And to see these children from age 6 up stand in front of the marker, read the name of the interred, salute, and put that flag down within 2 hours, from a blank canvas to 88,800 flags are in place by the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of our community. Please come and join us and bring your kids, because they'll never forget it, and we won't forget you.
Thank you so much, and we will see everybody. Thank you, Curtis Mack. Thank you, Chaplain Dove. We will see you all next time. God bless.
You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.